Welcome to the Bodybuilding Banter podcast, your number one source of all things bodybuilding. Be sure to like and subscribe to stay up to date on future episodes. Now, here's your host, Leroy Rollins.
Welcome, people, to the podcast. We're getting these daily uploads, and we couldn't do one without my man, Branden. He's a staple. He's a staple on these shows. So, introduce yourself, man. There are probably some newer viewers because we just broke 1,000 subs. So,
hey, cool, man. That's great.
We're kind of getting somewhere with this. So, yeah.
Yeah, so my name's Branden Liezert. I'm a CPA competitor and coach of clients and gym manager. I'm a nutritionist. Guess kind of started this whole bodybuilding endeavor whenever I was, I guess it was in 2016. Competed in my first show in 2017. I've competed at nationals. That's the really brief synopsis.
He's doing the bodybuilding thing. So before we went live, we were just going on about working out at home and how you mentioned it's getting a little stale. So dabble into that a little bit because I'm sure you're not alone in that feeling.
Yeah. Okay, just...
And he's gone.
No, I'm here. I'm just opening the door so my dog can get out and roam around. The home, I have a barbell, I got a bench press, I think you have the same one, leg extension and a leg curl. I got a separate bench, I got 2 pairs of light dumbbells, 2 pairs of medium, moderate dumbbells, 2 pairs of heavy dumbbells. It's enough to get the job done.
Yeah. For
sure. And I've had great workouts, and I've been able to probably... I feel like it maintained all of my strength and all of my muscle this entire lockdown quarantine thing.
Yep.
But it just simply, without a doubt, no matter how much you love training, and I love training, that's the whole reason I'm in this. I love it.
Yeah.
It gets stale, man. It gets monotonous. It gets what am I doing? All right, I'm doing the same 6 exercises twice a week, for 3 weeks now. There's no sort of variations to I don't even really have, that bench, if anyone thought on my stories or Leroy's stories, it does have incline options, but then
you're like this.
You're unracking a bench press from here.
Yeah.
So it's rough. So I'm lucky I'm in a position, and I wasn't doing it for the longest time. For about 3 weeks I wasn't doing it. I manage a gym, and yesterday was the first time I actually went back to the gym. No one's been in there, period, since the 22nd of March. It's now, April 9th?
Yep.
So it's been 3 weeks now-ish, and I couldn't have any sort of problems with, being infected or cross-contamination of anything. So, unfortunately, it's just myself in there, which is, I have a great time, but it obviously is not open to other members.
Yep.
And I'm sure someone's gonna see my card there and say, "Is the gym open? Am I allowed to come in? Can you sneak me in here?" And unfortunately, it's always gonna be no. But just for instance, it's tough to train legs, right? For example, you clean and press 185 or whatever, and you slam it on your back, and then you do jump squats or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And, there's no such thing as going in there unracking 315 from a squat rack, being able to slam it into a power rack and go to failure or anything like that, right? So there is no hack squat option. The leg extension, it only comfortably holds I have my own plates and stuff here, but it's the plates, the middle of the plate is too wide, so then when you go up on a leg extension, the whole bench shifts and stuff like that. So, it's different. You can make do with it. I could have made do with it. I'm just lucky that I'm in this position, and I just feel I'm going to take my own liberty here and go train in a real gym.
Yeah. So what's your split? Were you doing anything different for these last few weeks at all?
No, actually, so I started a training block 2 weeks before this whole lockdown thing happened, and you could kind of see, the gym was getting less and less busy anyways, because people are starting to use, their own precaution. They weren't really, quarantining themselves, but they were just kind of limiting their gym access, limiting club, their times in public. So, no, I was still using the gym, and all I did was I just mimicked the same exercises from that split I was using in my gym to the barbell and the dumbbell and the bench and everything like that. So it was back and biceps. Next day is legs and abs. Next day is chest, shoulders, triceps, and I still did hammer curls in there anyways because I want to bring my biceps up. And then it was either a rest day or whatever's freshest.
Yep.
That's kind of like what I've always done, and like I change the splits up all the time, but now and then it would just repeat itself for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Nice. Yeah, I was because I just kind of came off of prep, so I was like, okay, this is a time that I can switch things up a little bit. So I typically do like a 5-day split, so 2 rest days, but because now I have the time, I'm doing 6 days a week for sure. And then on my rest day, I'm going to make, because it's time out of your day, right? Like, that's one thing that now, like, on my rest days, I'm like, shit, what am I going to do for 2 hours? So I'm going to start doing, like, probably yoga or something, honestly, and, like, just try to, A, kill some time, but B, at least get some benefit out of it. But now I've started to do, like, push-pull legs, rest, push-pull legs. And now this is kind of the first week where I have, like, a solid, like, program kind of figured out. I got my squat rack set up outside, so...
I saw that thing, man. That's that is wild.
That shit's rugged. Dude, it's perfect, though. Those stones are 40 pounds, so it's almost like a plate. And then the bar's not nearly a 45-pound bar, but I can get comfortably, like, 350 on my back.
There you go.
Yeah,
wow.
So... the only issue is like progression, like, and that's what I'm finding. Even if like with the equipment that I have, the same stuff you have is like I don't have 2.5s or I don't have like 5s, right? So for me now, and I think a lot of people, it's probably just gonna be chasing an extra rep or adding a set on to like progress. Because for me to do like a barbell curl to add like 10 pounds a side, I'm gonna cut my reps in half, and they're gonna be shit. So.
Well, that's the thing, too, right? And, like, I mean, whenever I first kind of came up with the home split, I was just like, okay, well, I'm just going to start really light and make sure that I can comfortably maneuver all these things in this, room. And so I was doing sets of 30, 40, 50. I was doing wild stuff, right? And, like, stuff I hadn't done since I was, like, in college, like 5 or 6 years ago. And it was different. Like, everything... you obviously can still stimulate a muscle whenever you take it to failure, but it's different, right? Because, a lot of people, I hate this term, but a lot of people are like, your body doesn't necessarily know, like, the weight you're lifting. Well, of course it does, because, I mean, if you take a set to failure, let's just say, for instance, like barbell curls again, you're curling 20 pounds. Well, you're taking that set to failure for 100 or whatever reps, right? But if you have 95 or 115 on the bar or something like that, 6 or 8, there's a huge difference in, say, a 10-week training block where you're trying to progress at sets of 80 or 100 versus 8 or 10 or 12, right? There's a huge difference. Anyone that says not, well, they don't know, they're misinformed, or, the thing is, I like lifting heavy. Like, I like training to failure, but, like, no matter what, failure is good, but where it's most enjoyable for me is like in that 8 to 12 range, right? So, and it's less time consuming, man, because who wants to do, like, I was doing dumbbell floor presses with like 50 pounds for 50 reps, you know what I mean? And I was like, what's going on here?
Yeah, like I've been doing like leg extensions, like the setup that me and you have. Like, I have a pair of 35s, so I can get like 70 pounds before the bench feels like it's going to snap in half. Okay. But I'm doing like single leg extension for like 30 reps. Do both sides, and then go right into dual leg for 30 reps with an iso hold, with partials. Like, it's taking me like 2 minutes to do a set to get like any kind of stimulus, right?
Yeah, exactly. So it is something that's, and another thing is, so you see these people, I mean, even on me, like every morning I still check Facebook Marketplace and Kijiji just to see if people are selling stuff. But like, people are trying to sell like a pair of 12-pound dumbbells for like $50.
It's so
or something
stupid.
Wild, like, what are you guys doing? And like, obviously, if they're selling it, they're not using it anyways. But like, I was lucky, because I managed a gym, I saw less people coming in, I kind of got a head start on it. So like, even before it was like an official state of emergency or anything, I had that bench, I had the barbell, I had like a pair of plates I have a pair of 45s, pair of 35s, pair of 25s, 10s, 5s, and 2.5, right? I got 6 pairs of dumbbells. I have kettlebells and battle ropes, but I use battle ropes for long bar rows instead of you know. But yeah, it's just a different thing. So it was kind of cool, and for me and you, people that are really busy, it's at home is kind of like a nice little in a way, at least. It's a little bit of a downshift, like a vacation or like a reset button.
You're completely off right now, like me?
I still work at GNC, actually, a few shifts a week.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, so, most of my, working week is at the gym, right? But that's totally shut down, of course.
Yeah.
And then for Viddle, that's also shut down completely. All my online clients, we've pretty much came to a halt. We were just taking this time. No one's dieting or anything like that. No one's competing or anything like that. So it wasn't like they were trying to stay on to get ready for a show this year. They're just kind of taking this as a little bit of a downshift as well. But it just becomes a little bit too relaxing, hard to motivate if you're always at home.
Yeah.
So I might keep all this stuff for when I go back to work and stuff like that. And I'm, gone from the house a lot. And if I just want a day of solace, an hour to train with no one else there, then I'll keep this up and use it here, and it'll be a nice shift. But
sure.
Yeah, it's tough to get motivated sometimes, and that's it's coming from me who even if I'm not motivated, I'm going to train anyways. But sometimes a workout that would take a normal 45 minutes or an hour. You're hanging around, I'm talking to the dog, I'm staring at the empty walls, you know what I mean? There's no mirrors in there and all this stuff. It takes 90 minutes or 2 hours. So
Yeah. Okay, let's get into kind of the main meat and potatoes of this, and that is setting up a successful prep for next year. Obviously, they're looking at September. Actually, I just got a notification that the Coburg Naturals has been rescheduled to September. Ottawa was moved to September, so they're very hopeful in the end of the year being a positive. But let's talk about setting up for next year. We can kind of use me as an example because that's the plan now. I won't compete this year at all. So I kind of had things broken down into a couple little subgroups. So, having lifestyle and habits, having training, nutrition, and then kind of your goal and your mindset for 2021.
Yeah.
So let's start with lifestyle. What do you think is kind of some shit people need to start getting figured out if 2021's the goal?
Well, hopefully most people kind of see this as a good chance to reassess what is really important to them.
Yep.
For me, I know that I'll compete next year, no matter what now.
Yep.
Right? I was just taking it mostly day by day or week by week and month by month, just gauging my progress. But I want to get on stage because who knows if in 8 years this happens again, you know what I mean? Or if in 4 years this happens again.
Yeah.
It's something that you really have to, you really evaluating everything to see what importance you put on everything. If you want to start making lifestyle changes towards a goal of stepping on stage, if you're a first-time competitor, this is kind of a good time to kind of instill that structure, right? So, obviously, you should not. I don't think you should have 100% crazy importance on hitting your macros exactly, eating exactly on time or during this. I think it's most best served as a little bit of a downgrade or a downshift or just a shift in focus to really see the outer part of everything too. So main things that people that at least first time competitors they can do during this time is they can get their meal timing ish down. Obviously if you're someone that's going to break down, you're breaking your food down to 8 meals a day or 7 meals a day or 6 meals a day, try and get them evenly split, spaced out.
Yep.
Have whatever protein quota you need for the day evenly split between most of those meals.
Yep.
Obviously set out time for training. Hopefully, and we're totally disregarding people that don't even have anything at home.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
Yeah, we're
honestly,
lucky.
You're not training for getting ready for anything if you have a pair of dumbbells at home. You're not, right? So you need some stuff. Like, even this is adequate, but like you still got to bust your hump in there to really maintain everything, or like progress in strength, or even maintain your strength. So it's just that sort of thing. Do your research. This is a good time to like do your research of what actually goes into a show.
Yeah.
Like I mean, your tanning and everything like that. Like show costs, get a budget ready, and all this stuff.
Yeah.
As far as like the actual physical act of getting ready for a show, I honestly don't believe anyone should be doing that right now. Like there's no way that you should be prepping for something right now. It's just it's too uncertain, right?
Yeah.
But you can have these sort of methodologies like in place so that whenever a time comes, like that week, right, that everyone's able to go back to the gyms, you don't have to worry about finances or anything like that. You tackle it head on, and you're ready to go.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I think there's little things that you can start putting into place now, right? Like you said, like getting some kind of structure with your meals and some kind of schedule in your day where you can devote like an hour to researching bodybuilding. Like, I remember like having clients come to me and, you know, they don't know what a show is like. What's a show setup? Or, oh, there's more than 3 poses, or like all these things that I think, you know, you and I, who just at a very young age were getting into bodybuilding before even the thought of competing, I knew that there was multiple poses, and I knew that you had to get a tan, and I knew like these little things that I didn't recognize I knew until I've worked with people that didn't know that, right? So I think if your plan is to compete in 2021, you have plenty of time to basically go into your prep knowing everything that you have to do.
Yeah,
which is actually dieting.
Which is such a huge, and like for someone like you, or for someone like me, like that stays in not terrible shape year round.
We don't get too fat.
You know, like like the thing is, you're someone that can do that can get their body composition down to something that's respectable during this time. If they really are dead set on competing for at least the first time competitors in 2021, you will have such a huge advantage on the people that are just totally relaxed about this sort of thing, that aren't training or training like a couple times a week, that are training for half an hour or whatever.
Doing
and like people that aren't dieting, like period, right? That aren't like getting their protein in or anything like that, or aren't watching calories or macros, period. You'll have such a huge advantage. The thing that is transferable from this, at least, is for some people it's pretty tough mentally, right? So without a doubt, like one of the most like trying things that we've probably done in our lives is mentally, anyways, is going through a bodybuilding prep in that last 4 or 6 weeks, right? And so if you can come out of this with a good head on your shoulders, reassess and reevaluate everything, and kind of clear out all that BS clutter in your head, and just have a goal or a dedication, I think you'll be farther ahead than probably 80% of people, because 80% of people that don't do the little homework that we just talked about, I believe it holds them back. Like, it makes them anxious. It makes them a bunch of things, right? And you add on all this stress, all this outside constant stress, going into that, especially someone trying to aim for a late show in 2020 or an early show in 2021. You're already starting the race a few meters ahead of them.
Yeah, and like I think just on top of that, like other little things that you can kind of get in check is sleep. You know, managing your stress.
I'm sleeping these days.
Yeah, but that like little things like that, I think people ignore. Like, I think when people think bodybuilding, it's just training and diet. But the amount of effort that I've put into little things like sleep and keeping stress down and just knowing when to rest and all doing little things to help me recover, like just little things can really add up. And I think if people can put those into place now, before prep, then it's a seamless transition. And like you said, you're starting the race a few meters ahead, and you have these little skill sets that can be very, very useful.
How many people, too, like during a prep, I mean, this is a time, I mean, obviously, if people aren't taking care of their immune system during this, then they'll never do it, right? But, like, how many times during a prep Do you hear of athletes anyways? Like, I've always been a pretty big supplements guy in a way, like health supplements at least.
Yep.
And like, I mean, pairing workout nutrition and supplementation like that. But like, how many times do you hear about competitors that because you're getting leaner, because your hormonal profile isn't quite as efficient as it should be, you hear about them getting sick at like 8 weeks out, 6 weeks out, 4 weeks out.
Yep.
And then their life becomes extra miserable because they're not sleeping, or like they're irritable, or they're extra sore, or like they have a cough or a sore throat or whatever it is. This is a great time, obviously, to start taking care of your immune system function, or just it's very simple. Like for me, maybe for a month now, I've been taking extra zinc, vitamin C, vitamin D, echinacea, elderberry syrup. Like, I mean, there's probiotics, right? Like, probiotic, like, a lot of people kind of scoff at them, but if you really, like, if you understand what a probiotic does and what it does for your whole body and, like, systemic inflammation, like, every bodybuilder should be taking a probiotic, for sure.
Every morning, I pop 2 of them.
Well, and the thing is, too, like, even if you don't want to break it down like that, like, I also just take basics, right? I mean, there's a multivitamin, there's fish oil, there's all of this stuff, right? So, take care of yourself, like, get this stuff down. And yeah, it comes to a budgeting thing, but also if you're really serious about bodybuilding or just your
That's
strength,
what it comes
your
back
health,
to. That's exactly what it comes back to.
Like, I hate, like, I've heard it so many times because I work at a gym and like I manage a gym and I work at GNC, but like health is wealth, and like let me tell you, there's no more apparent time for that than now. Like, take care of your health. Like, if you don't have your health, you don't have anything, right? So, and that's one way that you get a huge head start on all of these competitors that are going to neglect that. It's the easiest thing to implement.
Yeah, like we all know and see competitors who in the off season are like drinking and they're eating a bunch of shit, and like off season is a time when you can have a little bit of flexibility, but like for me, I don't drink, so I don't have that issue, right? I don't smoke, I don't do drugs, all that kind of stuff. But like, you know, you see these people having McDonald's every day, and then they're grabbing Timmy's donuts. They're having a muffin before every workout because #muffin pump, and it's like, no. But those are the people that are going to be having to make this dramatic switch when prep starts, and their prep's going to be harder. It's going to be not as successful. Whereas if you have just this good foundation of like healthy eating habits and a good structure with your diet, with bodybuilding being the goal, like most of us don't eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner, right? It's a 4 or 5 meals a day, protein, like you said, dispersed between every meal. Like those little things, it's not overly complicated, and if you have 8 to 10 months to iron that out and have that, you know, like it's mindless for me and you now, right? Like, and most bodybuilders, like we don't think about it. Like I couldn't tell you the last time I had breakfast. It's meal 1, right? But once you have that ingrained in your system, and if you can do that way before prep, then when prep starts, it's just small adjustments to put you in a deficit.
Yeah, it's too common that people especially like a first to second time competitor is they don't do the research, that they don't understand that it really has to be very strict. Like there's no way around that if you want to be your best.
Yeah.
Right? Like
simple.
And strict is a very sort of umbrella term because there's a bunch of different ways to diet strictly, but at the base level it has to be strict diet.
Yeah.
Then they go from, oh my God, this euphoric state where especially if they did well, now here comes the reward, right? Here comes the reward for this. So I can stay up till 2 a.m. every day and get up at 6 for a while, and like I can eat like 2 meals a day, and they're going to be 4,500 calories each, and it's like all this stuff. I'll do no cardio because this is all done now, and then whenever their second show or second prep comes around, it's like, do I want to do this again?
Yeah.
Right. So if you are always in control of things in your head, if you just keep a little bit of like surveillance on what you're doing, it just becomes so much easier to just kind of click back into that mode where it's weird. Like now I'm looking forward to it, man. I was kind of scared of it before, but now I'm looking like you just become a killer. Like you just become just cold-blooded,
Yeah.
you know, and you just turn it on and it's there, and there's no turning it off once it's on. So
Yep.
it's easier just to kind of get back in that mode. Yeah.
Sweet. Okay, so we talked about nutrition a little bit. One thing I just want to add is making sure like you don't have any like binging or eating disordered habits before entering a prep, or you don't like if your goal is bodybuilding, you need to have that stuff well behind you if that was ever an issue, because it will only be exponentially worse during or definitely after the fact when a prep is over. So I just wanted to add that in there because obviously we've mentioned having the structure and a little bit level of strictness to it, but also having like no like self-destructive behavior with food, I think is really important to have.
Yes, that has to be so far conquered before you take on a prep. And like there's easier ways to set goals, or there's easier goals to set than a bodybuilding stage if you're still conquering that sort of issue, right? So I mean, you start goals by combating that self-destructive issue, right? So for 1 week I'm not going to binge eat, or for 1 week I'm not going to and then it becomes a month, and then it becomes this month I want to be able to do this, whatever it might be, right? And it's obviously tied into conquering that self-destructive behavior, and then after that is you know that there is no way you're falling back to that. That's when you can take on something as it's heavy as a bodybuilding prep.
Yep, cool. Okay, let's talk about what do we got now? Training. Let's talk about training a little bit. What do you think is kind of some must-haves with training before like lining up a prep? I think number one is you gotta love training. Simple as that.
Yeah, that's
not a day goes by that I don't want to train.
Yeah, if you don't, then you don't do it. Just don't. It don't matter. Like if you hate training, what are you doing, right?
Yeah.
But even if it's not something that you love, like above all else, like you and I kind of come from. We share a lot of the same ideologies when it comes to training, but it's not like our way is the only right way.
Yep.
And that's a fact. But we just both love training that way. You have to develop your own sort of love for training, however that might be. That's probably like the bottom pillar. That's the bottom part of this pyramid, right?
Yeah.
But like you have to first of all be very realistic with your work ethic in the gym too. So, like, there's different schools of thought on what work ethic is and what is efficient work ethic in the gym and how much you can recover from and all this. You know if you're training hard enough, and you can be, blowing smoke up your own butt. But like, I mean, I know like most of the times when I train, there's like, I mean, I can't stop the sweat dripping off me or anything like that, right? Like but it's just this robot mode that you get where if you love it, you're just going to take it to that.
Yeah, you chase level, that feeling, right? You just
exactly
that feeling of exhaustion and knowing that you're putting it out there, and it ultimately is going to come back to me and you and people in our position, knowing that what we're doing is going to get us what we want, right?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I think that's something people lack in their training. Not even just new people, but like people work out or train or lift or whatever you want to call it without necessarily understanding why they're doing it, right? Like we train the way we do because it's going to make us better bodybuilders.
Yeah.
I'm not training to be like fit and healthy, but that's a byproduct. But that's when I go to do legs, the last thing I'm thinking of is like, oh, my breathing capacity is going to be better after this set of squats. Like that's not going through my head.
No. There's a bunch of different ways, like, training, there really is 1,000 ways to skin a cat, right? But like for some people, it might be that they get the best workouts, not necessarily trying to progress weights or anything like that every single workout. Like they might just be, maybe they'll take less rest time or whatever. Maybe they're supersetting everything. I mean, look at Milos Sarshev. He puts everyone through like this crazy giant set. Obviously, they're not breaking any sort of PRs, but I mean, like, look at the product of some of the guys that he's worked with, right?
Yep.
I don't fall into that. Man, I hate that. Like, whenever I was making up the split, I was like, maybe I'll just start doing things in supersets, like every exercise, like I did when I was like in high school and college. And I was like, it'd be fun to do that. It's not fun for me anymore.
You're like,
man.
this
I
is
just like
stupid.
it, first of all. And then I'm like, okay, every single second exercise that I'm doing, I have to drop the poundage of last time I used it on training block by at least like 20%. So like now I feel like I'm getting weaker and all this stuff. Yeah, and then for other people, right, like they might take one set to complete failure where every single movement that they're doing partials and drop sets and they're doing rest pause and all of it. And like and then I look at those people, I'm like, are you human, man? Like, how do your elbows feel? How do your shoulders feel? How do you like everything? So like, I'm kind of a happy medium in both of them. Like, I was texting with a friend a couple days ago, and they were like, well, I don't take any pictures or videos whenever you're training or anything like that. And I say, like, if you can't, then you're probably not training hard enough, right? Like, if you really feel like between your set that you can't waste any time, like what on my phone, I just have all of my exercises and PRs and stuff like that. And so whenever I'm doing a training block, I between sets, I just go, okay, for this exercise, that many reps, I just did this, right? Or who knows what I'm doing. But like I know if I do a set of squats to what I call failure or close to failure, and I just go sit down, and then 30 seconds I feel ready. You know what I mean? That's something's off there. You know what I mean? So it's not 30 seconds. So everyone used to have this, like, used to be like frowned upon, like people be in the gym like on their phones and all this stuff. Well, it's just part of the humans are now. You know, so if you do a set of squats and you really take it to failure, if you do a set of bench press or overhead press or deadlifts or whatever, and you need 2 minutes to recover, you shouldn't be frowned upon because you're on your phone. You shouldn't have to feel like you need to like stare at the barbell for 2 straight minutes or anything like that. You know, try and get yourself like mad for 2 minutes. You know, but. Yeah, there's training is the bottom pillar is always you have to love it. Like you'll never work as hard as you can at it if you don't love it. So find a training method that you love. Work ethic is paramount.
Yeah, they're right together.
Yeah, you can't half-ass it. Like you can't. You'll never get as far as quickly as the people that are loving it and training as hard as they can. And then it comes down obviously to finding exercises that work with your profile and work with your bone structure and everything like that. It comes down to like programming, finding how much recovery you need. But like for someone that's just looking, like especially a first-time competitor, I would just focus on the first two. Like I would just focus on being very transparent with yourself and very real with yourself, and just trying to figure out how hard you can work. You know, like that. I used to love just trying to figure out how like far I could just take a set. Like I just used to love that. So
no, I agree. Yeah, and just like after those things, that's when you start looking into like what split, what, like you mentioned, exercise selection, figuring out what works for your structure, and then, you know, as you progress, like this is long past a first-time competitor, but that's when you start looking at like, okay, where have I developed weaknesses or imbalances, and how do I address those things? But we're not going to get into that because that is years down the road.
Yeah, I mean, especially first-time competitors, especially if they're like younger people like us, like 25 and under, or 30 and under, even if they're newer to training, like get heavy, like get under heavy bars. Like just heavy basics are going to build your foundation, and there's no two. Like I don't care what it like. You know, like that is your best starting point, and it's so much easier, and it might like feel better, you know, if you're doing low cable curls with like single armed and you're doing like dumbbell kickbacks and stuff like that, or leg extensions. But like I mean, this is what you hear from everyone, so like it's not like some weird, you know, conspiracy.
It's not just us saying that. You ask any top level competitor, whether they're enhanced or natural, they're going to tell you the basics always win. Squat, deadlift, bench, pull up, row, overhead press.
All that
you're
good. Get good at them. Like get stronger at them, but also get better at them. Right? And like for certain things, especially like a row, like a barbell row, it doesn't look the same for everyone, because everyone has different femur lengths, everyone has different, you know, hip widths, everyone has different, you know, spinal lengths. They have different humerus lengths. Like everything looks a little bit different. So really find out how to attack those movements for yourself as an individual best. Get stronger at them. Give yourself time with the proper nutrition, and you'll develop a foundation. like for sure. And then from there, like you said, that's when you start, really starting
picking things apart a bit. And sweet.
Exactly.
Okay, let's finish this up with recognizing the goal for 2021, because I think that's something that is very important, because I know followers have asked me why I'm not competing this year. What the heck? There's plenty of shows probably in the fall. Why aren't you competing? So I think having an understanding of your goal when you're going to compete, whether it's your first show, your fifth show, your 10th show, and realizing that it's not the same for everybody, right? So if you're competing alongside other athletes or you follow other people, if it's your first show, get to the stage. You win.
If you were breaking this down into there's sort of 4-level or 5-level goals, right? The first one is definitely just, if you make that goal to get on the stage and you start prepping, or you start that mindset where you're going to prep, then first base is getting to the stage, of course, right?
And in reasonable shape too, right? If you can get, I'm not saying, even for myself, my first show condition to now is very, very different, right? But if you can get to the stage, look in reasonably good shape, good job.
That's better than 4 out of 5 competitors, right? So 80% of people are first time they get on stage, they don't even know, right? They don't really know what it takes. So then you get on stage and at a level 1 show or a regional show or whatever, there'll be a few other people there that really have done this before, probably, and look good. It depends, though. It really depends. I hate to toot I don't really like toot my own horn, but because I was such a fan of bodybuilding for such a long time, and I grew up and trained with bodybuilders, I knew what stage ready condition was like.
Yep.
And I was gonna be I wouldn't have got on stage. I would have backed it the day before if I found out that my condition wasn't stage ready. I was getting on there stage ready, really good condition or not. So it is possible, but it's not. It's way less possible for someone that isn't a long-time fan of this, that doesn't understand it, that is just it's probably less possible for someone that feels the need to have a coach, likely, right? Because if you feel like you really need someone, then, and this is absolving you and I of any sort of extra responsibility, but if you really feel like you need someone, then unfortunately there's going to be a little bit of a synapse and a little bit of a working experiment between those two people. And very rarely, especially if you're someone that's only going to give yourself 16 weeks with a coach or 12 weeks with a coach, very rarely are you going to be able to just kind of hit things off, get everything right, not take any sort of back steps.
I have that quickly to that. I have that conversation with everybody now that's a first timer. The one girl, Isabel, that I've had for her second show, which was supposed to be Coburg, night and day different, because we had all that data from her first show. But to Brandon's point, basically what he was saying was that if you're a first-time competitor and this is your first time with ABC coach, we're trying to figure it out like you are. So it's as much as us learning your body. Yes, the process is pretty similar across the board, but there's very, very much differences from person to person. So for me to try to figure out to get you in stage condition, then usually we need more time. 12 weeks is not enough, and it's trying to iron out all the details along the way.
Exactly, and it's like that. It's not just like that when it comes to bodybuilding or anything like that. That is sports. That is a coach. The first season that he gets this athlete, generally that athlete is not going to perform as well as, say, if he was traded or signed from a different team and had a same coach and a same system for 6 years.
Yep.
That is part of their DNA. They know that. They get out on the court or on the field or on the ice, and they know exactly what they're doing, and they've been sharpening that system for years.
Yep.
So if you're a first-time athlete and you come to a coach in any sport, especially bodybuilding, there's so many variables that change every single day. You cannot expect this coach to, in 8 weeks, know everything about you. Okay, here we go. I've got everything. I know exactly like I'm living inside you. It's not going to be like that.
Yeah.
So how do you combat that? Well, you come to a coach in good shape already. You don't come to a coach like you look like you're 30 weeks out and you want to do a prep in 12 weeks. That's not gonna help either of you guys out. You do your research. You for anyone that's taking up any sport, you do like you know about it. You know the ins and outs of it. Like I would never go to a tennis coach and be like, make me a French Open champion in 24 weeks, please. Like
Please.
It doesn't work like that. No matter how much you pay, it doesn't work like that.
I think bodybuilding, just adding on to that, I think bodybuilding, you just kind of sparked that in my brain. I think bodybuilding's like the only thing where like little kids play hockey for years and years and years and years progress and progress and progress and do their thing. People will be like, wake up one day and be like, I'm going to do a bodybuilding show and know nothing about it.
I was still in high school, and like I started training when I was at a gym in grade 10, and for about a year before that, I was training in my old house in the basement, and I probably I didn't go away to college yet, but I don't even know if I graduated high school, and people were asking me, are you going to compete? Are you going to do this? And I always thought, like, are you insane? I was like, I've been doing this for 2 years. You know what I mean? And I didn't look like a competitor.
And and that's the thing. I mean, even sometimes I look at myself, like, when I'm not with a pump and stuff like that, and I'm like, I'm nothing special. Like, I'm not what I saw in the magazines when I was a kid. I'm not that.
So, and I was always like, you're insane for thinking that. Just like, I've been 2 years at this, and meanwhile, I've been playing basketball for several years and football and stuff. Like, no one ever asked me if I wanted to play football or basketball in college. What I mean?
That's a good quote. That's really good.
Yeah. Well, it's the truth, and so why people just think that you can just always take it up an extra notch, and then you'll be ready in a few. And there's different degrees of that, because you can do that in the spring and look beach ready in the summer, but there is so much of a difference from looking like good on the beach to looking good under the lights in front of bodybuilders against bodybuilders on a bodybuilding stage. There is a stark difference. It's so sobering. And like, anyone that hasn't competed yet, when they go to their first show, they'll understand, because either you'll be Group A, which is maybe 10% at a regional show, that have done the work necessary, have got their nutrition and their training and supplementation right for 16 or 20 or 12 or whatever, how many weeks, and you'll be able to know, okay, I at least look better than Team B, which is 90% of people that woke up one day, decided they were going to do a bodybuilding show, didn't know anything about it, didn't do the research, didn't get their nutrition, didn't get their training or supplementation right, didn't get a coach in that case, and they look good for the beach, which is fine, which is great.
Yeah, I mean, even
there's just a big difference.
Even me right now, right? Like, I'm like 10 to 15 pounds over projected stage weight, and everybody's like, I'm getting messages, like, especially when I did those photos the other day, like, whoa, you look insane. Like, when were you competing? Like, were you like 2 or 3 weeks out? I'm like, no, I still had a projected 2 more months left easily. And even then, I could probably still always get leaner. Like, you could probably always get a little bit leaner. And like, it's a huge gap between like a fit and healthy, good beach look to like the stage. It's a large difference.
Yeah, that's the biggest misconception, right? So you see, and like, I mean, I manage a gym now, so I see so many people that come in and they're like, my grandson looks like you, or whatever, and it's like, okay, well, that's great, thanks, but he also probably has never looked like how I have, and it's okay. Like, how old's your grandson? He's like 13. I was like, okay, well, no, it doesn't work that way. You know that, so, but it's, there's way too much of it. Like, I mean, you and I both know, like, it's pretty easy to get down to 7 or 8% body fat, right? You don't have to pull any tricks out of the bag or anything like that. There's no you don't need a carb cycle for that, or you don't need to do anything. You like, supplementation wise. You don't have to change your training up. You're not doing crazy amounts of cardio probably. To get from 7 or 8 to 5 or 6, and then again to 4 or 3. Like, I mean, that's where it's not fun, and that's where people just don't get there, right?
Yeah.
So, and there's a big difference. You're on the beach, and, like, you know, what's covered up is your legs and your butt. You know, and so your abs might look good, and your obliques look all right, and there's probably a little bit of fat on your lower back if you look good on the beach, but there's none of that on a bodybuilding stage if you're really in condition. And underneath the shorts that are covering up everything, especially if you're underwater or whatever, you know, like it's separated quads that have veins all over them. You got butt cheeks that look like Ruffles potato chips, okay, and you know, like it really is just, it's a stark difference there.
Yeah, sweet. All right, man. Let's closing thoughts. What's kind of the summed up, if you're competing in 2021, I'd say, start doing your research now. Start ironing out a lifestyle that's conducive to bodybuilding, right? Yep. If you're someone who drinks a couple nights a week and eats out pretty regularly, like, start getting that in check, because bodybuilders don't do that. I'm sorry, but we don't. And especially the ones that are really successful. Love training, right? Make sure you have a good, deep-seated passion for training. I know it's hard right now. We're all in tough situations training at home, but as much as it's still not ideal, it's still probably the highlight of most of my days, is getting in the gym, putting some music on, and doing the thing. Do research, right? Understand what's involved in a show. Like, what do you mean I'm up at 4 a.m. and getting a tan and all this stuff? What do you mean I have to shave everything? All these little things that go into bodybuilding that people don't necessarily know till they register, I would get an understanding of beforehand. Anything else you want to just kind of add to that?
No, not really. I mean, by the end of the summer, ideally everything is starting to normalize again, right? End of the summer is the perfect time to get a head start on, say, if you want to compete in early 2021, because if you're a first-time competitor, and let's just say March or April or May is one of your shows, and you're going to be prepping from the start of the year, like into a bodybuilding prep now from the start of the year, you really don't want to ignore how beneficial it could be to kind of take that 2-week period in late December and just sort of relax before prep starts. So if you want to have dinner with your family and not think about all this crap that you're consuming, get a little bit of a head start in August, September, October, November. And that's just really basic novice level information, but it might be really beneficial to someone that just decides, as soon as things normalize, I'm going to hit it gung-ho. And a lot of first-time competitors, a lot of people that are even second or third-time competitors, they'll sort of burn out at that point, right? So make sure that whenever you do start this, like a bodybuilding prep, like your mind, you mentally have to be so refreshed and clear if you're going to spend that long focused on one goal, giving it your all. And the reason why you do that is because there are people like you and I out there that will do that. Yeah. And if you don't, we're gonna eat you up.
You're gonna lose.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, man. Thanks for doing this. Appreciate it, as always. Brandon's Instagram and everything will be linked down below, so you can see his little home gym setup and his lovely little puppy that spots him and doesn't spot him.
Not very good spotter, but we're working on it.
Again, guys, if you guys like the episode, be sure to give it a like, subscribe to the channel. Stay tuned for all these podcasts. Me and Brandon do these pretty semi-regularly, so any subjects you want us to dive into and talk about, DM one of us, and we'll make it happen. So thanks again, guys, and we'll see you in the next one.